Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and this afternoon I'm delighted to be joined not just by Chris McElwain this time, but also we're joined by the one, the only Sean Conley. Welcome back, Sean. How are you doing, mate?
Good, yeah.
Always good to see you. Thanks for holding the fort last week against St Mirren, and obviously since then, lots to talk about. But we're going to be focusing on the first 45 minutes at Pittodrie, and let's start off with a nice positive, gentlemen. We'll start off with the goal. Chris, I do believe there was a bit of a prediction before the game, and you said we were going to score and Negham was going to get a goal, his first goal in the hoops. That's exactly what happened, and it was a really well-worked goal when you watch it back.
Yeah, not only was it Negram's first goal, I think that's maybe the first prediction I've ever got right. So that's pretty good.
Yeah,
it was a good finish, actually. Good build up, good impetus shown by Tierney to get in there and play the cross in, and you got to be in the right position. And I thought he took it and finished it very, very well. It's been an interesting half. It's been a half of quite a few positives, a few things that we definitely need to improve on, but it's been quite a nice competitive game, actually, I would say, between both teams, and both teams showing a bit of grit and a bit of determination. Lots of tackles flying in, a few heart and mouth moments, I would say, as well. Every time one of our players gets hit, you're kind of feeling the worst. But to be fair, we've kind of risen to the challenge quite well. But you can see that they're, going back to what Glenn said, from the Aberdeen podcast, yesterday, on Friday, rather, you can see that Aberdeen, they've got some good players able to transition, very quickly from defence to attack, and Keskinen and Oshish, as it causes a few problems. But they are lacking what looks like that clinical sort of, element up front. And actually, I think our defence has handled it relatively well. But having said that, even though we've got the goal, I think we need maybe at least one more, if not more, in the second half.
I'd agree with that. We'll focus on the goal initially, Sean. We'll come back to some of the points Chris has raised there in relation to the tackles. I've got my own take on that. I've probably got my own hue on that one. Sean, Negham, for me, over the pre-season, and I did watch every minute, and a lot of people say pre-season means nothing. I disagree with that. I think there's a couple of games in pre-season which are about minutes and legs, and then it's about performance and then trying to establish your start 11. And I think that, the disappointment for me would have probably been Trusty, because he played really well, but he didn't get chosen against St Mirren or today. But Negham deserved his place, and it didn't matter if the guy that he was replacing was an £11 million signing last week, or if it was the guy that scored the goal that won the game last week. Negham, I think, deserves his place. And not only did he finish really, really well, he was part of the lead up to the goal as well, Sean. Linking play up out in the right-hand side. He's a very intelligent player, isn't he?
Yeah, you don't get caps for Sweden if you're a bad player, right? Well, I don't know what he's on now, 4 or 6 caps, something like that.
Yeah,
not too many, but he is an international player. But yeah, and I think Engels can consider himself a little bit unlucky, and he'll get plenty of game time. I'm not worried about that, right? But that's what Negren's done there with the goal, is that he has done something that Engels has not been able to do till now. That something that Matt O'Reilly was very good at, something that Brendan Rodgers teams are generally focus on. Stuart Armstrong would do it, players like that, and then that's just getting that run into the box at the right time. And Kieran Tierney plays a big part in it. Obviously, he just smokes the winger. Like, the winger's just like standing him up. Like, obviously not used to having a fullback against him that's just got that kind of pace and vision. And Tierney just goes, "Yep, thanks. There was no trickery. just outpaced the guy, and then just had good vision to pick out Negham, who'd found a good spot. And first time, when you hit a shot first time, keeper can't get set, defenders can't get set. It wasn't like it wasn't one of those classic finesse top corner finishes. It wasn't a volley. It was just a good first time finish that was just controlled and on target. And when you get controlled and on target and first time, then that's Giakoumakis used to make a trade out of it. Yeah. Doesn't need to be in the top bin, like goalkeepers and defenders can't get set, and that's what he's done. So yeah, it was good. It was a good goal in a relatively turgid half of football.
Yeah, I mean, you take that goal away, and I think the discussion is really talking about the kind of lack of quality in the first half. I'm going to bring in some of the comments coming through. Yes, I noticed that Schmeichel is wearing a very natty third goalie kit, messing with you. I was in the shop on Thursday when we were recording the kit special, and the goalie strips are absolutely top drawer. Probably better than the third kit, although I'm not sure how difficult that would be. Lemon lines, there we go. M-O-N, Martin O'Neill. Le Mans lines, we could even say. The graft Kalmak has been in this first half has been incredible, although watching Idah run about like a donkey, not so much, right? I want to touch on this, right? So I'm going to come back to the Kalmak thing. There's a couple of different angles I'm going to take here, gents. First one is, going into this game, I was talking about revenge before the game, Sean, because we're football fans and you're allowed a wee bit of that chat. But the three guys for the cup final, Casper, for the obvious reasons, right? Alistair Johnston misses a penalty. Callum McGregor misses a penalty and is in tears at the end of the game. And I just think as professionals, get in there and make it right. And you know what I mean? And get your own back and all the rest of it. There was a save, and I'm going to bring this up. Yeah, Casper does save Chalky. He does save. There was a save in the first half. We'll come back to the handball leading up to that save. Sean, resident ref. Johnston and McGregor are two, I would say, of maybe three players who are giving the Dons a wee bit of their own medicine, right? Yes. So it's been a tough... You kind of touched on this, Chris, right? Mm-hmm. Full-bloody tackles. I actually counted, believe it or not, I've got them here 6 times where Aberdeen got away with a foul, and I don't mean got away with a free kick, got away with 6 fouls in the first half, no bookings, right? None. And I was watching that and I was thinking, right, what I want to see from my team, because I'm now christening them the Dirty Dons. What I want to see when we're playing the Dirty Dons is give them a wee bit of their medicine. I want to see a bit of aggression. I'm not talking like full-blooded dirtiness. But you've got guys in there like Kesnan and Nielsen, and they're leaving something on it every single time. But what we've seen in the first half is something that I think's been lacking. We've seen it from Carter Vickers, Alistair Johnston and McGregor. And I love to see that, Chris. You've got to have a bit of that about you, I think.
Yeah, absolutely do. Yeah, I think it was refreshing to see. I thought, there was a couple of great examples. Of one moment, Alistair Johnson, attracts. I think it's O'Sheesh right down the left hand side, and puts slide tackle. Okay, kind of ball hits his trailing hand, but just the way he threw himself in there. There was a couple where both McGregor and I think it was possibly Shinnie went in, and it was very much a 50-50. But by God, it was a real hard 50-50, and we were on the end of quite a few of these challenges against Aberdeen last year, and I don't think we responded well. This game, we're standing up to it, and I mentioned in the pre-match, I said, we're going to need to be physically resilient, and I think those 3 players that you mentioned are showing that resilience. They're saying, okay, you're going to lay one on me, I'm going to lay one on you. Now, both teams, I will say that they're leaving it, and they're not being, out and out dirty, but they are. It's competitive, and I like that. You've got to stand up to this type of physicality. Jimmy Talleen, I think, knows how to utilise it and how to weaponise it, and his team, and it worked effectively against us last season. So maybe it's credit to the manager and the players to say, okay, we recognise that, go and give them a bit of their own medicine, as you've said, and I think we're doing it. And I think we're doing it well.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, obviously we knew, because we're body language experts, that Brendan Rodgers was up for it because he took off his tie. But this is something I'm not...
Sleeves are rolled up into the jacket.
Probably, yeah. I don't know how many buttons are down to show his whatever's going on under there. But when I watch it, Sean, I don't mind it if it's a two-way street. I really don't. But last season, I didn't feel that it was. So for a fact, going into this game, call me paranoid all you like, right? So there's a moment where the Aberdeen player blatantly handballs, right? And it leads to that Casper saves moment. And it's right in front of Beaton. It's right in front of Rangers supporting John Beaton, whose team dropped points yesterday. And I'm sorry, it's a free kick all day long. And it's not even, unless you can tell me a different regulation that's been introduced, you don't let it play on to see if it becomes a goal, then drop back after a VAR. It's a free kick. He's handballed it. And I felt as though he was giving Aberdeen license to be brutal, as they had done last season. But it was the character shown by Celtic that I was most impressed by, because the guys we've mentioned got stuck right back in. What's been your take on it with regards to Beaton's performance? Because I think he's a poor ref anyway, but that first 45, I thought he was dreadful.
I actually don't think it has been dreadful, to be honest. I don't think it's been great. I think he could have got the cards out. But I actually think he's given more free kicks than I would have expected to get from a weaker referee. I'm not going to name any names, but there are referees we get every 2 weeks, for example, that would cow to the crowd, that would cow to the Aberdeen players moaning about the free kicks. Like the one where Tierney gets just shouldered in the back. I don't know the guy's name, number 11, and it's like, And look, as a Sunday League ref, right? I hear this every week where people do that. They run into someone's back and they go shoulder challenge, and you're like, shut up, like, and that's basically the equivalent of what Aberdeen are doing today. Like they're not going in studs up, but when they do press, they're just making sure that if they're not getting the ball, they're taking the man. And it's not. I don't think there's anything dangerous. I don't think there's anything risking any injuries, apart from maybe like an upper body injury. But you're right. It's been physical, and we stood up it pretty well. And Aberdeen started it. They chose violence, as you mentioned, the number of fouls in the first 5 minutes. They commit 3 fouls, right? And that's with them playing the St Mirren, lying deep, the medium press where they don't press Carter Vickers and Scales. They barely press on the wings as well. They wait for it to come into the middle before they trigger their press. So even with that being their tactic, they still managed to commit 3 fouls in the first 5 minutes. So they are playing a physical and potentially violent type of football, but not. When I say that, I don't mean dangerous. There's not been any dangerous tackles, so I'm fine with it in that sense, But yeah, in regards to beating. Regards to beating, I think he's not been great. He should have booked a couple of players, but I also think he's doing better than I would expect the majority of Scottish referees to do in that atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who disagrees with this, what I'm going to say, and I'm going to bring up Sarah here because it's absolutely fine and we welcome disagreement, but Sarah agrees that it was blatant. Now, all I'm going to say is, right, the circumstances are this. Aberdeen breakaway, having handled the ball right in front of Beaton. Unless he's blind, he sees it. Right, it's right in front of him. He doesn't penalise the player, and Aberdeen actually have a really good shot on target, which Casper has to dive to save to give away a corner kick. So, what is the reason for that? What is the reason for Beaton not giving the free kick? That's all I'm going to ask anyone who disagrees. But in terms of what you're saying there, Sean, in terms of the tackles, absolutely. I think it was one of the ones where, had it continued and Celtic never stood up for it and stood up for themselves, it would have been even more frustrating. But there are referees out there. Every time an Aberdeen player went through a Celtic player, the crowd erupts, the Aberdeen crowd erupts. And then it's about the referee being strong enough to say, I don't care about the noise. I'm going to actually book this player or penalise this player. Scott Mason says the ref forgot his cards, disgraceful. And we've also got Graceful Shambles, good name for a band, that. It pains to say, I want to talk about Adam Idah. Adam Idah's an empty jersey at this point. Now, the point I'm going to raise here, there was a moment quite near the end of the first half, right? And we do our usual thing. So it starts off in the defence. And the ball comes from Scales, it goes to McGregor. And McGregor looks for Idah. And what Idah's meant to be doing by this passage of play, obviously we don't know what Brendan's telling him to do. It looks as though McGregor is expecting Idah to drop deep to take the ball off him, right? And in dropping deep, he's drawn 2 defenders with him, right? And that because there have been 2 defenders on Idah all afternoon. He draws 2 defenders with him. It maybe leaves a pocket of space behind on one of the wings. So it looks as though that's what he's tried to do. Idah failed to make the run, and Callum McGregor absolutely rollicked him for it. Did you see it? He rollicked him for it. And it's as if, like, we all know what the game plan is, Adam. Why are you not playing your part? And that's what I took from that. And that's a wee bit of concern. That goes back to the thing Alan said on Friday. Alan's biggest bugbear is a player who will not learn.
Yeah.
They're resistant to learning. And it's a simple thing. When McGregor gets the ball, drop deep, even if you're not getting it. In fact, we'd rather you didn't get it. He'll then hit the wings, and then it's your job to get into the box.
Yeah.
And he just didn't do it.
No, do you know what was interesting as I was watching Idah? I tried to focus on players like Idah and some of the players in Scales have been under a bit of scrutiny. What I noticed from Idah is I compared it, and I apologise for the reference, I know I'll get a few pelters for this. When Kyogo used to play up front,
listen, I thought you were going to come out with Judas. If it's no Judas, it's fine.
Right? Absolutely not. No. He who shall not be named. No, absolutely no way. But when you used to watch Kyogo had a presence up there. He was a pest. He'd put himself around. He would get in players' faces. He would dribble round them, run round them. He'd make good runs. And his intelligence and his movement, his ability to read the game is something we are badly lacking at the moment with Adam Idah. Now, I don't like to criticise players. I struggle a little bit with it. But I agree with what Alan said. Last season, we gave Adam Idah the excuse of not having a pre-season. He's had a full pre-season this year. He's now second and a bit season with us, 2.5 seasons he's had with us. If he can't recognise how to play in this system at this point, then there's a problem there, right? And the amount of times I saw the move break down at Idah today was quite alarming. Now, I'm saying this with real hope that he'll come out and do something in the second half. I really am, but he must do more. There were players there, as we've spoken about, McGregor, Negham, Johnson. They've all had, Carter Vickers, they've all shown a bit of grit, a bit of determination. They're playing well. Idah needs to up his level. He needs to up his level.
I'm going to ask you, Sean, this, right? So I guess the debate is, do you play to the player's strength or does the player play to the system? I mean, there needs to be a sweet spot in there somewhere, surely.
Well, I think it's no real. Well, there's a bit more nuance to it, but obviously, Idah's best games are in the Champions League. So I'd say that it's basically it's the systems we're coming up against. The way we have to play doesn't really suit him in that sense. So I think the reason we see the best of him in the Champions League, same reason we see the best of Engels in the Champions League. He's a player that needs a bit of space to operate in, and just like there's just none of that when you're playing St Mirren or Aberdeen. So. But the one thing that he has been doing well is he's been pressing well, and the whole team's been triggering and following him. Last week that was not the case. Last week it was the press was not working. It's a bit better today.
Yeah, it is, and we're about to kick off as well. Thanks everybody for getting involved. We're 1-0 up. Negham scores his first goal for Celtic. It was a great assist by Kieran Tierney. Go and enjoy the second half and join us at full time once again on A Celtic State of Mind.
Yeah, well,